What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Sunday edition Morning Scone presented by Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and Hudco Roofing, hudcoroofing.com. Appreciate y'all for being here with us. Where's my YouTube? There we are. LSU got the crap kicked out of them by Kentucky, 42-21. You allow over 300 rushing yards to Kentucky. Absolutely dreadful. You were never in the game. You allow a sack fumble early. You're down 14-0 at half. Kentucky scored on its first three possessions of the second half. And you can pretty much take it from there. Oh, and you also had Kayshon Boutte injured late in the game, which is devastating. And apparently LSU's administration has decided that they don't want to fire Ed Ogeron right now, which is even more embarrassing perhaps than the game last night, because that just means you're allowing even more embarrassments every subsequent Saturday. So, and a coach that makes off-color jokes during his radio show, which are even on set by his poor decision making. And oh, by the way, this is the same coach that is a defendant in not one but two lawsuits because of federal Title IX violations for covering up rape and sexual assault, and a coach whose team stink. So yeah, let's hang on to that guy. All right. Say some good mornings. Like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post. YouTube, smash that like button. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Reagan Lee, good morning. Pulling the trigger today? I don't think so. Thomas, Brian, Buddy Chassaw, Ken Bro, Joe Ritchie, Joe and Bryant Hanno, Chewy Gutierrez. Whiskey Line was amazing. Thanks for the laugh after a forgettable game. Reading through a lot of comments and tweets this morning. Apparently we're more vulgar last night than normal, but whatever. It's like people are surprised when they come to Whiskey Line and they hear cursing. It's like, it's kind of what the show is. Hey, Dad. Good morning. Yeah, Arthur Coco. Glad Bama lost. Still unhappy with the LSU. Yeah, you know that's kind of a that's kind of a catch-22, right? Like, you're glad Bama lost, but you're upset A&M got a win like that. I'm still happy with that Bama lost. Patrick Dorsey, Dylan Landry. Patrick, this is probably your most watched show today. My most watched Morning Scone. No, there's been, I mean, we've done this long enough now to where when you have hirings and firings and different, like it pops. But Whiskey, I think that was a Whiskey and Wine record. Maybe I'd have to go back. I would say like the Troy loss in 2017 was massive, but we weren't doing YouTube at that time. It was only Facebook. So we probably, by the time today ends, we probably will. I think that Troy Whiskey and Wine had 60,000 views on it, something like that. That's before Facebook changed its algorithm and stuff like that. Dustin Jenkins, Kelly Presley, Jerry Derrico, please shut T-Bob up. T-Bob was very inebriated last night. He got to Don Juan early, was drinking mezcal and smoking these little cigarillos. And then, we start the show and he keeps drinking mezcal and smoked a cigar. T-Bob was, and somebody asked about, someone made the comment like, man, y'all are wasted. I was like, no, T-Bob's wasted. I don't drink on Saturdays until the game ends. Like I literally, because it's work. I mean, I'm prepping, I'm doing pregame, hosting pregame. I get to my house, watch the first half, I take my notes. Then at halftime, I leave and I go to Don Juan. And I watch the second half and take notes. And only when the game's, when Whiskey and Wine starts, do I get my first pour. So I sit there and I sip one drink during Whiskey and Wine. I'm really not drunk during Whiskey and Wine. Let's see. Lance Richard, did he really say he was surprised by Kentucky's run game? Did Ogeron say that? That he was surprised by it? I didn't hear his post-game stuff. Curtis Blanchard, there's no way O makes it past today, right? Curtis, I'll tell you this, man, and I'll run through this because I know a lot of people are, are asking about this, and I'm sure we'll be asked about it a bunch. So I'll run through this timeline for everybody, and I'll tell you all at this point. I mean, there's no sense in hiding any of the conversation. I'll obviously protect privileged information and sources of information, but so y'all have heard me say many times that I was told during the summer that Ed Ogeron needed to go 9-3 to feel safe. 8-4, depends how it looks. 7-5, he was going to be fired. You have to keep in mind the context of all of the Title IX stuff, all of the NCAA stuff, all the off the field stuff, that he was going to need a big year to justify keeping him amid all that. Also, an athletic director that does not like his antics. This is just, you have to understand this. Scott Woodward does not like running shirtless on the beach, taking half-naked pictures in bed with women, going to camp in Fushon and threatening people, like walking down Rodeo Drive in LA the day before the game with your new girl who's 20 years younger. Like, they don't like the radio show. So Ed was going to need a big year this year. When they lost to UCLA, right after that game, I had a call from 2 different boosters who said they were called about contributing to a buyout. So those wheels were already in motion. At that same time, I was given 2 names to replace Ed Ogeron. They were Lane Kiffin and Bill O'Brien. LSU wins 3 straight. You don't hear as much talk about that. Last week after the Auburn game, obviously it ramped up again with the loss, as ugly as it was. But even still on Monday, I had a conversation on Monday with 2 very high-level individuals who made it pretty clear that Scott Woodward was not going to make a move midseason. One of the big reasons that he was not going to make a move midseason was because they do not have a very obvious choice for an interim head coach. That sort of is the problem. The week goes along, and Ed walks out of his Monday press conference early. What happened on the coaches show on Wednesday with the fishing hole comment? Apparently there was other sort of toxic things that happened within football ops last week, and apparently the heat really got ramped up. And by midweek, it was basically like, hey, they lose this game and it's ugly. They're going to fire him, and Mickey Joseph's going to be the interim coach. Which is why when T-Bob and I recorded Scone and T on Thursday, I alluded to that. Yesterday morning, that softened, and it kind of reverted to the stance of, I don't think they're going to fire him. And then even after the game last night, 2 different people told me they're not going to fire him right now because of the issue with who's going to be the interim coach. So I think you have an evolving situation. Someone asked, chance that he makes it through the year. Given all that I just told you, I don't know. I mean, I don't. If you're Scott Woodward, I don't know how much more of this you can actually tolerate. I mean, it's the first time Kentucky had, what was the number? A 20-point win in conference since they beat Vanderbilt in 1998. I mean, wow. Tribute Carter, good morning. George Reitmeyer, good morning. Connor O'Neill, buy him out. The team isn't even playing hard anymore. I agree with you, and I know they have the money. A big part of how they've tried to structure this was that they were going to get him for cause, and apparently the fear is you try to peg him for cause, Ed fights the whole thing, makes a big stink, becomes a greater public fiasco. But that's what you get when you're dealing with a guy like Ed Ogeron. So they may end up just paying him. I told you, I was giving Ed, after UCLA, I was giving Ed's buyout, which is just right around $17 million for the entire staff. You go north of 20. And I was also told after the first 2 names, which were Kiffin and O'Brien, were Fickle and James Franklin. So I tweeted those names last night. Those are the 4 names I've been given. I mean, I'm not plucking that from air. Those are names I've been given. Pat Huseman, Jason Austin. Something else to keep in mind is that Scott Woodward is very, very close with Jimmy Sexton. They're like great friends. So that's probably also why you're going to hear a lot of Sexton clients mentioned in that whole mix. Pat Huseman, Jason Austin, Huey Miller, DC, the Bayou Bengal. I've lost all faith in Coach O. Only now you've lost faith in Coach O. William Peden, good morning. Kirk Taylor, what's up? Jordan McNeese. Connor O'Neill, only good news is the Seahawks game is a little less daunting for the Saints now that Russ is out 4 to 6 weeks. That's a great point. Donovan Thibodeau, Derek Peterson, Ultimate Warrior. Glad you and T-Bob didn't spray last night. Spray what? I'm with Craig Duguay. LSU's a basketball school now. I'll say Kentucky's a football school. Kirk Taylor, guys, we're waking up to a college football war where Iowa is the number 2 team in the nation. Georgia, Iowa, Clemson's unranked. Wild times. Adrian Bailey, good morning. Horrible display last night. It's time for change. The players deserve better. I agree. Derek Peterson, Spurge, what's up? Gulf South. On the bright side, LSU finally ran the ball pretty good. They did. Look, man, I'll go to, we can talk some about the game. I know that's not really what everybody, I know that's not what everybody really wants, but I'll talk a little bit about it. LSU got the ball to start. Actually converted a 3rd and 7, converted a 3rd and 6, and then they had the sack fumble. Kentucky gets the short field. Very quickly they score on a 4th down, by the way. It's amazing what happens whenever you have a beautiful play by the way, Mason Smith on the 3rd down to get the stop on Will Levis. And then 4th down comes and you give up the touch. They go for it. They give up the touchdown on 4th down. Wide open on the right side. Great play call. You get the ball back. You go for it on 4th and 1. It's a disjointed mess. You waste a timeout, by the way. On you're going for it on 4th and 1, and again, you waste a timeout on 4th. You cannot even make it up. Horrible play call. Max had threw it to Jack Besh, would have been short anyway. Kentucky gets the ball back. They score again. It's 14-0, and this was the sequence where I was like, right, this is just over. 2 Goodwin runs back to back, get a 1st down. Then on 1st down is when they threw the deep ball to Palmer, and he was open. Palmer had a step down the seam. He was open, and Max underthrew it. On 2nd down, Corey Kiner had the run where like he went at the middle, bounced right, came all the way back left. I mean, it's great effort, right? He got tackled for a 1-yard loss. And then 3rd down, 3rd and 11, he had Besh over the middle, and he overthrew Besh. At that point, like, you even had some good play calls. Like, you had the answer. I mean, you had the deep ball to Palmer open, and Max overthrew him. So at that point, it was just over. And how about late in the first half, it's 3rd and 8. Jay Ward makes a great tackle. They're going to punt, and John Trey Kirkland's offside on the punt. So instead of 3rd and or 4th and 6, it's 4th and 1. And they're going to go for it. And then they called Kentucky for a false start when it was actually Mason Smith who jumped off sides. They should have got the 1st down. Like, that would have been just completely bent. Game is drunk, over. But yeah, the one positive, Ty Davis-Price had a nice day running the ball. But Kentucky basically did what Auburn did. They kept dropping 7 and 8 and into coverage. And so you had 3 and 4 man base looks where you could run the ball because you had numbers, and they did. So they took advantage of it. But the crazy part is this was one of those games where it didn't matter because you were behind and you needed to play catch up and couldn't. Jeb Whitley, you and T-Boy were a live wire last night. Sorry for the state of the program, but thank you for the outlet, Matt. Go Mosconas, go Tigers. Thank you, Jeb. Derek Peterson, new to watching you, really like your perspectives. Thank you, Derek. Tim Gotro, good morning. Can't believe we have gone from dream season to nightmare program in less than 2 years. Embarrassing. I'll say it again, Tim, and I know that my Whiskey and Wine co-host disagrees with me, but it's because Ed Ogeron does not know how they made it happen in 2019. He is Gene Chizik. He lucked his way into a transcendent player, rode him to a national title, has no idea how else he got there, has no idea how to get back. He is, for his career, a failed head coach. He is not a head coach. He's not. He is a defensive line coach who can recruit. And he's very good at that. And that's what he needs to do because that's all he can do. Donald Amy, Kenneth Martin, good morning. Scott Fields, good morning. Hey, babe. Hi, Drew. Hi, Drew. He kept trying to say hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Brett Dagro, morning, Scone. Enjoy the embarrassment that will be LSU football from now to the first week of December. You know, Brett, I hope not, man. Huh? No. I would love to see a scenario. By the way, 346 watching on Facebook. Thank you. Please like the page, share the post. Like the page, share the post. 197 there on YouTube. Please do me a favor, smash that like. 59 likes. We can get that up. Thank you so much. Smash the like button. And very much thanks to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Brock Rock and Wine coming up on the open date because we all may need to party come open date at the Renaissance Hotel. You can get tickets at brortho.com, brortho.com. Richie Burt, does Ensminger come out of retirement to be interim head coach? No shot. Like literally 0% chance. You have to understand that Steve Ensminger is Tim Russell. This guy looks well hydrated, ready to tackle today. A shout out to GoFlow IV who came out and gave us IVs during Whiskey and Wine. I feel awesome today. I mean, despite barely sleeping and having a long day and all this, it's amazing. I don't know if y'all have ever done IV hydration, but it really does work. It's incredible. But no, Ensminger. Steve is, Steve Ensminger never wants to be in the public eye. He cringed at the one or two press conferences he had to do a year. There's no shot. He comes out of, there's just no shot. Like literally 0% chance. If they go to an interim, it will be Mickey Joseph. Paul Walson, was Max playing hurt last night? Why was he so off? Paul, he's been off this year, man. Like especially with deep balls. I mean, he has been off. That hasn't been a strength. That he needs to improve on that. Justin Hutchinson, Matt, no, Woodward doesn't care about fan opinion on when the change should happen, but surely he cares about losing the income from home games 2 years in a row. Remember this, Justin. The majority of ticket sales are already done. Like. That's when you sell season tickets and tradition fund and all that stuff. That's basically like salary. It's predetermined revenue. So whether fans show up or not, absolutely that affects concession sales and parking and different stuff like that. But by and large, that money is money in the bank already. So it's not as big of a financial hit as you might think, depending on when you do it. It's more. Do you really, like, how long do you want to string this along? And this is where they got with Les in 2015. When Joe Oliva leaked to Scott Rabelais that Les was coaching for his job, and Scott wrote that article, then the final 3 weeks of the season, every LSU game, Les was asked about it. In every press conference, Les was asked about it. And players were asked about it. And it became the thing that became the focus around the team and the program and not the games that were still being played, which is unfair to the players who are trying to go play the games. Because the thing we often forget is, or we don't always consider, they're not professionals. Like if you're a professional and you're getting paid, you're a professional athlete, go play. Doesn't matter who your coach is, what the circumstance is, you're getting paid to play. In the same way that regardless of what's going on in my personal life, I get paid to go do a radio show. So at 3 o'clock when they turn on the mic, I got to do it. Or if you're an engineer, you may be having a bad day or things going on in your personal life, like, or your boss gets fired or whatever, a manager you like, you still have to go do your job. Like, that's what you do in a professional setting. This is college football. So you do have to consider the student athletes. And do you want to have just this embarrassing season and things go off the rail and these young people being asked about it all the time? Like, that has to be considered. Will Myers, morning, how far does Bama fall in the polls? 5. Let's see. Brady Bolin, what's the injury to Kayshawn? They said on the broadcast an ankle. Didn't look like an ankle, but I don't like Brady. I don't like to speculate on injuries, but they said on the broadcast ankle. Vino, you feel LSU home games will result in empty stadiums? I mean, 11 a.m. against Florida after this debacle, that ain't gonna be good. Richie Burt, what's up? Ray Slocum, Charlie Cavell, good morning, y'all. Good morning, good morning. Jonathan Martin, morning, Scone. It's like Max doesn't know as a D1 quarterback when the receiver gets even with the safety, throw the ball, not wait until he gets behind him. It's not even that, Jonathan. He just underthrows it. And I'd rather an underthrow than an overthrow, because if it's underthrown, you give your guy a chance. But this is the conversation we had when they played Central Michigan. And they scored a couple of jump ball touchdowns, if you remember. One to Besh, one to Deion Smith. And I said after that game, hey, look, that's great, and it looks good on the stat sheet, but what happens when you're facing SEC defensive backs? Well, true to form, a week later against Mississippi State, he throws a jump ball, he gets picked. And I'm like, we talked about this. Oh, you're so negative. Really? Now you just had it happen again. Like, it's a legitimate criticism that he has to work on. I'm not saying that's not fixable, but that's something that Max Johnson has to work on. Cole Pierce, Jermaine Davis, Paul Batts, Jared Termine. Yeah, some of y'all are asking about Achilles. That was my first thought when I saw it. The way his toes were planted, and it like that was my first thought. But they didn't say that on the broadcast. They said ankle on the broadcast. So until I hear otherwise, I'm not going to speculate. That's unfair to do when it comes to an injury. Glenn Clark, not true. Coach O is very good at other things like running with young co-eds and jogging the levee shirtless. Noted. Seth Foray, the Alabama loss made ours a tad bit easier to deal with. It did give me some solace last night. Thomas Bryan, people in Houston hate Bill O'Brien. Why him? Why would Franklin leave Penn State? Fickle is a Big Ten guy, but I like it. So a couple things. I don't think Scott Woodward cares if people in Houston hate Bill O'Brien. He is a good offensive coach. He inherited a dumpster fire in Penn State after Joe Paterno and did really well. I think in Houston, Bill O'Brien, the coach, was solid. Bill O'Brien, the GM, made awful decisions. And now he's sort of part of the Saban coaching rehab program. The other thing to keep in mind is Jimmy Sexton. I mean, Sexton and Woodward are very close. So you're going to see Sexton clients on this list. I don't hate the idea of Bill O'Brien. I really don't. I think he's a much better college football coach than he was an NFL head coach. Kiffin, I wonder about maturity issues, especially in LSU's current Title IX predicament. Luke Fickell, a lot of people, yours truly included, I just assumed his AD, Mike Bone, is the new AD at USC, and Mike would try to hire Luke Fickell to SC. But it's kind of been expressed to me that apparently Mike Bone and Fickell didn't get along great. And also, Luke Fickell has 6 kids, including 2 sets of twins. And they may not be super keen, Midwestern family, it may not be super keen on moving to the West Coast. Would they be interested to move to the SEC? Maybe, don't know. Maybe he's a guy that would just prefer to stay in the Midwest and wait for a Big Ten job to come open. And then Franklin. Well, James Franklin's already coached in the SEC, coached at Vanderbilt. I think James Franklin would be a absolute home run. Great offensive mind, great recruiter. Got to know James Franklin a little bit just from all the different SEC media days, appearances when he was at Vanderbilt, interviewed him a bunch. You got to talk to him a lot. I think James Franklin would be a home run at LSU. I think he would win at a high level for a long time here. Dan Stover's hashtag GameCoin, yeah. GameCoin had a big day yesterday. Nice pump this morning as well. It's, I've gotten to know the founder, the developers, a lot of people around it really well. And it's a great project with great fundamentals and some exciting stuff coming. And it's so cool to think of what that has the potential to grow into as a business from Baton Rouge, which is really exciting, man. I mean, if that does what it's intended to do in a new space in crypto and blockchain and all, I don't want to be like, I don't want to get like ahead of myself, but you think about, what Dell Computers meant for Austin, Texas. Just because Michael Dell was a student at UT when he built his computer and started his company. And think about what that's meant for industry. And I kind of think about that with GameCoin. I'm like, man, if it's so early in a new space that's gaining tremendous traction, and if it wins, and Baton Rouge is sort of the hub for it, and it's run by people from here who want to stay here. I mean, that's really exciting. It really is. Long way to go. I mean, but it's 100 days old, but it's very exciting. Tammy Ann Morrow, Matt, you said it all when you said this is what you get with Ed. Thank you for never drinking the One of Us Kool-Aid. Tommy Matthews, NIL, some are getting paid to play. I understand your point, Tommy, but you have to understand, Tommy. The percentage of student athletes that are getting paid on NIL deals is microscopic. When you talk about the 400,000 student athletes and, I mean, the ones that are actually getting any type of NIL revenue is microscopic. You got to understand that Derek Stingley and Miles Brennan or Matt Corral and Bryce Young, those are a fraction of a percent of the whole, right? Let's see. Jump back over here to YouTube. Thank y'all for being patient. For those who are new, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are seeing this for the first time. 225 watching on YouTube. Thank you. And 320 on Facebook. Appreciate y'all so much. Please, if you're on Facebook, smash like button, like page, share the post. If you're on YouTube, do us a solid, smash that like button. Just under 100 likes with 226 watching. We can get that up. I know. Thank you. I'll hang out and I'll answer questions for as long as y'all want to talk. I'll do my best to get through all of it. If y'all can just be patient with me. Jason Austin, can we please be honest? Talk about how embarrassing this defense and its coordinator was last night. Sure, Jason. I mean, for all the progress that we thought it looked like LSU had made, it certainly was exposed last night. I think we ignore how good Kentucky is at the line of scrimmage, and that really was the big difference. And that, that's on me. I mean, I picked LSU to win the game, and I thought they'd win at 24-20 because I thought they would make Kentucky one-dimensional, commit to stopping the run, and make Will Levis beat him in the passing game, which I wasn't sure he could do. But LSU just couldn't do it, and that's one of those games where you look back and you really look at some of these guys and you go, Damone Clark had 14 tackles last night. Baskerville had 7. Where was the line play? I thought Ali Gay gave great effort. There was one play where they ripped off a 30-yard run, and Ali Gay, ran downfield and made the tackle from behind 30 yards downfield. And I thought Ali Gay, playing for the Scouts and playing for the NFL, and I thought, played hard. One of those things where this is one of those games where you look back and you go, if you had Glenn Logan and Joseph Evans, I'm not saying those two guys are these transcendent players that are huge difference makers, but if you had those other two guys, you could rotate them consistently and you keep guys fresh throughout. That's where your numbers hurt in a game like that. So, but yeah, man, I mean, it wasn't really tricky what they were doing. They were just running zone concepts, and LSU just could not stop it. Wide open gaps. They just got blown off the ball, man. Never seen LSU's O-line and D-line get whipped so bad in a season. Last year. Josh Giraldo talked about how bad and lost Buck Strong was in literally every snap. How does he stay on the field? Got to rotate somebody, Josh. I mean, Buck Strong and Mike Jones both took snaps at linebacker, but your best two are Damone Clark and Baskerville. But you can't just have those two. But that's another indictment on Ogeron. It's he has not managed this roster, and I had this conversation this offseason with a staff member, not one of the 10 on-field assistants, but a staff member. And this person was complaining to me, like, about the state of the roster. And it was basically, like, you had to know in 2019, when you saw Patrick Queen and Jacob Phillips and Caleb Von Chasten, you had all those guys, you had to know those guys were going to be gone. Like, they were going to leave early for the draft, and you were going to have a void at linebacker. And I'll be damned, here you are. The 2 years that followed, because you did not supplement that position. You had to go to Clemson to get Mike Jones. You had to go JUCO to get Bug Strong, and you've missed on both those guys. And so this is what you're left with. You're not very good at linebacker. Same thing on the offensive line. You lose all those guys, and you just didn't have numbers coached up behind them ready to roll. And so now these 2 years, you have been flailing on the offensive line. That's a lack of roster management. That's on Ed Orgeron for not managing his roster. This is all the stuff that it's all evidence of someone who does not know what he is doing. He does not know how to manage a roster, how to hire assistants, how to identify talent, how to motivate and lead. When things are going good, yeah, man, he's energy. He's one team, one heartbeat. Does all that. When things aren't, this is what you get. Hey. Okay. I'll listen for you. Jason Austin, glad Bama lost, and Deontay Wilder got his butt kicked. I hate to see the American lose to the Brit, but I mean, Deontay Wilder's from Tuscaloosa, so he's a Bama, man. I'm not sad to see him go down. Trent Delahue said, does our defensive coordinator not understand how to account for the quarterback on the zone read? We have high school coaches that understand that. Zay Witt, why is Mac starting? Tell me, take a leap and try something else. Zay, I would have said before last night that Max Johnson wasn't the problem. He did not have a good night last night. There's no question. But I would also tell you that, by and large, you've got two quarterbacks. The other was a freshman who, in his limited play, didn't look great. And, I don't think Max Johnson has been the problem. Has been the reason LSU's losing. It was not a good night, though, last night for him, obviously. Let's see. Troy Plummer, Matt, how are we able to have success running the ball? Ty Davis Price is running with purpose. Troy, they had success running with the ball because Kentucky was conceding runs. They were willing to keep everything in front of them. Kentucky, like LSU has scored this year on deep passing plays. I mean, it has been the long ball, the explosive play, how LSU's moved the football this year. They haven't grinded out drives. So Kentucky, who's only allowed 5 plays all season of greater than 20 yards, took the approach, I'm going to keep everything in front of me and make you just matriculate the ball down the field, and I don't think you can do it. And LSU couldn't. So there were gaps and seams and opportunities for LSU to run the football because they had numbers, I did like Jack Mashburn lining up at tight end and H-back. He's a walk-on tight end who wears number 82, who they used as a blocker to have an extra blocker to help with the running game. So I liked that. You actually saw him line up in the I formation with him, as the fullback with his hand in the dirt. But again, you don't have a fullback on this roster. So anyway. Brian Dixon, any change from your contacts if O gets fired today? Talked about that a little bit ago. I know there's probably a lot of people who have just joined us. Earlier on Monday this week, it was basically expressed to me that Orgeron was not going to get that Scott Woodward was not going to make a move during the season. His track record, Ty Willingham at Washington, Kevin Sumlin at A&M, let those guys finish out the year. By midweek, things had heated up a lot, and especially after the coaches show. Wednesday was very, very volatile, and I was told then that if a move was made, Mickey Joseph would be the interim. But that's a big problem, is that they don't feel confident in having somebody that can step in and be the interim head coach. But it really felt like it was a real possibility. But then last night after the game, it was kind of expressed to me, actually yesterday morning, and then after the game as well, that Woodward was not going to make a move. I'm curious, when he woke up today, how he felt, how he feels. But I, based on what I was told last night from two different people, it certainly seems as though they're not going to make a move today. Travis Daisy, Ryan Dixon, Derek Peterson, Huey Miller, morning from New York. All right. With the win over Bama last night, we can stop mentioning Jimbo as possible candidate. He's not leaving now for sure. Jason, I wouldn't put that down to one game, and I wouldn't put it past Woodward for calling. And remember, Jimbo does not have a buyout. That's the deal that Woodward worked with Jimmy Sexton. Jimbo has the big contract, but he has no buyout. But when you're making $9 million a year, if you're going to get him here, you're going to have to pay him 10. And I don't know if LSU wants to do that. Let's see. Kentucky's O-line absolutely pummeled our D-line. Every running back they put in the game 8. They're a great running team. Cliff Nelson, what's up? 2 words in the English language I learned last night. Lemon cookies. Erica made lemon cookies last night. She always makes cookies for me to bring to T-Bob. Cliff was at Don Juan last night, so we were eating some of Erica's lemon cookies. They're really good. Jason Austin, if I had to choose between the 4 names you mentioned, it would have to be Kiffin. Travis, the Saints go win, right? I think so, Travis. It would certainly follow suit, right? Win, loss, win, loss. I mean, it would make sense if they win. Pretty desperate today for New Orleans going into their bye to have a good showing. And I think this defense will be ready to shut down Taylor Heineke. And oddly enough, Washington's allowing over 400 yards a game. Like, as good as their defense was last year, they've gotten off to a slow start. Let's see, Brett Dagger, what else happened in football ops last week? Do tell. I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but suffice to say that the things that we're talking about, they're talking about internally as well. And Ed Ogeron knows it's the end. Ed knows, the one thing that's an absolute certainty at this point is that Ed Ogeron is not going to be LSU's coach next year. It's a matter of, do they make the move now, or if they lose to Florida, or the open day, or at the end of the year, whenever. And he knows it, and suffice to say, he's not handling it well. Let's see. Go get the ULL coach. Napier is not going to be on the list. Scott Woodward is going to... I'm not saying Napier wouldn't do well. Scott Woodward is going to aim higher. It's just his MO. He's not going to go hire the coach from ULL. He's just not. Let's see, Mike and Mary Hoggart been saying for a while, better hope the team doesn't let go of the rope. It's never good. Watching last night, he lost the team. That's the concern, right? Jeremy Thibodeau, Ole Miss Ed. That's about right. Let's see, Chewy. I'll ask the question everybody's wanting to. Did T-Bob make more cookies? T-Bob did not make more cookies, Chewy. Buddy Bond, that is Coach O's only job, manage the team. He's done a horrible job. Yes, he is. And he'll be fired for it. Nick Cadena, do we win last night with Miles Brennan? I don't think so. I mean, remember, Nick, I'll reiterate, the reason that, a primary reason LSU ran the ball well last night, and I'll defer to guys like Hester and T-Bob who go do film study and know way more what they're looking at. But I was watching the game with T-Bob, and Kentucky was giving LSU run looks. I mean, they were dropping 7 and 8 into coverage because that's what LSU does. They throw, and Kentucky was basically saying, we'll give you a 6-yard run. We'll give you an 8-yard run. We're not going to give you a 48-yard touchdown pass. Let's see. Someone asked about Urban Meyer's buyout. I don't think it's going to matter. Who was that? It was... Sorry. I like to mention names whenever I see the comment. I just missed that one. It was Jim Greeley. Yeah, considering what just happened with Urban off the field with all the Title IX stuff, it's been expressed to me pretty confidently that Scott Woodward will make a a very scandal-free hire. Jeremy Thibodeau last night was the worst I've seen Max play. And every player has a bad game from time to time. I don't think you punt Max Johnson because he didn't play well last night. And he didn't. I'm sure he'd tell you that too. He didn't play well last night. It's okay. Michael Gaddy, can a new coach come and change the drug testing program at LSU? I would love to see Scott Woodward make waves in that direction. Cole Pierce, one of the biggest positives I can say about James Franklin is they won at Vandy. It's true. He's a really good coach. Blake Hebert, come on, baseball season. Nick, there's no reason to fire O during the season. Wait until the end of the season where you don't have to pay him as much. So, Nick, that's actually false. Ed Ogeron's contract is set up to where his buyout, where the year in it drops, is in March. So I know this because I was sent his contract after the UCLA game, which basically tells you that the wheels have been in motion for a long time. So his buyout is a hair under $17 million, and it doesn't drop until March. And you're obviously not going to wait till March to make a coaching change. So it's good. Ed's buyout is 17. The rest of the staff, with the rest of the staff, it goes north of 20. And they can fire him for cause. I have no doubt about that. They can fire him for cause. Because I've been sent his and I'm telling y'all, there is a termination for cause section in his contract. And it's like 3/4 of the contract. I mean, if he sneezes, they can fire him for cause. I'm being obviously exaggerate. That's an exaggeration. But they can fire him for cause and not owe him anything. But what's going to happen, and what will be interesting to see, is they could fire him for cause and owe him nothing. They could fire him for cause and the two sides can negotiate a settlement. Or they could fire him for cause and Ed can say, bleep you, I want all my money, and pursue legal action, like we saw with John Chavis, like we're seeing right now with James Craig. And I don't think LSU wants to go the route of going to court with Ed Ogeron, because I don't think they want depositions and public statements on the record, and I think there's a lot that would be unearthed that they do not want. So it will be a very interesting situation, but you're dealing with someone who is an immature man, who is a live wire, that is, as I was told, it knows it's the end, is not taking it well, and you shudder to think of what he might do if he starts singing, So that's the buyout info, Nick. So anyone who says wait till the end of the season because buyout drops, that's incorrect. That is not the case. Kyle Milliken, how about the Aggies? How about him, man? Michael Kleber, good morning. Great friend of mine has a kid playing football at LSU. He said the uncontrolled lack of discipline. That went away. Does the early signing period in the portal change Woodward's thinking? Gerard, that only matters if you have your replacement in place, and my guess is Woodward would already have that replacement in place, regardless of when they fire it. Ken Bro, I don't understand why LSU is nervous to have Mickey. Could he do worse than Coach O? It's just that there's no one with any experience. I mean, Mickey's never been a coordinator, Then again, neither did. Let's see, Cole, how much does Franklin make at Penn State? I don't know. But you better be assured that 5.5. So, I mean, LSU can afford it. But you better be assured that Penn State is gonna James Franklin's gonna get broke off either by Penn State paying him more, or LSU or USC hiring him, something like that. Let's see. Tammy, how many players go to the portal? That's a big concern, Tammy. That's a big concern. And I don't know the answer. And I think that's something that all players would have to, a decision they'd have to make, depending on who the next coach was, how all that went. But remember, and a lot of people have asked about the roster, something to keep in mind is at this week. 323 watching on YouTube. Thank you so much, man. Y'all please smash the like button. Much appreciate everybody who's watching there. 300 watching here on Facebook. That's awesome. It's probably our most watched morning Scone ever, so thank you. If you would smash the like button there on YouTube, much appreciated. Facebook, like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post. We're brought to you by Brock and Hudco Roofing. Earlier this week, the NCAA Division I Council approved a transfer rule, which it's a roster rule. So it's a one-year waiver where teams, you can sign your 25, but you can sign a one-for-one transfer up to 7 players over that 25. So, for example, you can sign your 25 high school players, and let's say you have 5 players transfer out. You could sign 5 transfers, so 30 total, up to 7 transfers. So this is a year where even if you have transfers, you can go get transfers to replace them on the roster. So whoever the new coach is coming in, the new rule will actually benefit them to be able to quickly turn this roster back around. Wendell Holmes, double check that, Matt. I've been told by A&M sources Jimbo now has a massive buyout that was negotiated. When they redid his deal, Wendell, they did the same deal that Woodward did with Sexton. They just increased his pay. Austin Kidder, how much is those buyout lower? No, sorry, I addressed that just a bit ago. What's up, Austin Kidder, by the way? Good to see you, man. Austin Kidder and I used to fight as kids. Taekwondo. Buddy Bond, did you see how much O was sweating last night? His shirt was drenched. Oh, it's probably hot. Warren Beasley said Joe Brady, not going to happen. Joe Brady does not like recruiting. He'll be an NFL guy, and he'll be an NFL head coach next year anyway. And also, I'm stunned that people just marry themselves to this idea of Joe Brady. Once and for all, Joe Brady was not the offensive coordinator at LSU in 2019. Steve Ensminger called the plays in 2019. Joe Brady brought some zone read and spread concepts, RPO concepts to LSU, but Steve Ensminger was the OC who called all of the plays. Why are people so enamored with Joe Brady? I do not get it. Trail Hatch, should we flirt with Pete Carroll? Pete Carroll's 70 years old, man. I'm not an ageist, but you're not going to go hire a dude that's 70 and he's not coming back to the college game. Tommy Prohaska, what's up? Fire with cause, they'll negotiate a lower buyout. Like I said earlier, Tommy, but yes, that would be ideal. But if Ogeron doesn't agree to a lower buyout and wants to go to court and fight for it, then you're playing a dangerous game of chicken. And my understanding is Ogeron's going scorched earth and is not just going to accept a buyout. Hey, WFB's Jacques Doucet. Good morning. Sitting in the Dallas airport. What's up, Jay? What's up, JD? Any word on Butte? I do not have any word on Butte. Let's see. Ryan Clark, better watch out. Coach O might show at your door. What's he going to do? Come beat me up for saying he's bad at his job and should be fired? If I did that to everybody on the internet who said I'm bad at my job and should be fired, I'd be fighting people all the time. The 6:10 a.m. Eastern flight is a kick in the head, but it'll be back in Baton Rouge before noon. That's cool. Gregory Brooks, what's up? Michael Gaddy. Mickey has at least been head coach before, albeit at a really small school with not a big school media pressure. Jacob Falcon, I would think players want to stay for a new coach. It's still LSU. Depends on who the coach is, and depends on if the coach wants those players. Richard Knight, will it be hard for the next head coach to recruit players to come back? Depends on who the coach is. And I think there's, and what system he wants to run. And I think the opposite is also true. Are there players that whatever new coach comes in says, maybe you should look around type deal? Any chance O resigns? Nope. Sean Donald and a little levity to lighten your day. I know you need it. I did 9,000 pull-ups and squatted 750 when I was 6. So it's not as far-fetched as you think. Crazy. Adam Danton. Bill O'Brien, one of the names I was given after the UCLA loss. Does Gus flirt with Woodward to leave Central Florida? There's no way. Like, no shot they would hire Gus Malzahn. Let's see. Lee Wilson, Matt, be honest, could you see Deion Sanders? No chance. First 20-point. And to elaborate, Lee, it's not to say that Deion has done a poor job. Like, Scott Woodward's not going to hire the coach from Jackson State, who's been a head coach for now in his second season. It's just, Scott's going to aim much higher. It's just his MO. Chris Hunter, thanks for this and whiskey and wine. Great stuff. Thank you for watching. Let's see. What about Dave Aranda? By the way, nice win yesterday for Baylor. Dave Aranda's trucking along. I don't think so. Again, I think Scott Woodward is going to aim higher with a more proven head coach. Just his MO, right? I mean, look at the coaches he's hired, from Chris Peterson and Jimbo Fisher and Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson. I mean, that's his MO. He's going to aim high. He's going to swing for the fences. Connor O'Neill, just hire someone with a brain. I'm sure there are some Dolphins at SeaWorld that could get us to 500. Kind of. Ryan Swallow, Pete G Toasty, what's up? Ryan Dixon, how long would it take to get the ship right with the new coach? So Ryan, I think next year, I have said this, I'll continue to say this. If you keep your current sophomore class intact, Elias Ricks, Jaquelin Roy, BJ Ojolari, Keyshawn Butte, Max Johnson, you keep that group intact. Jay Ward, you have a real Dwight McGlothern, like you have a really good team next year. You have a great group of veteran players on your team next year. This group of freshmen, which are playing a lot, receivers are great. Corey Kiner's got some potential. Mason Smith. I mean, we haven't even seen Sage Ryan. Next year's team is going to be very talented. With a coach with a brain leading the way, you could be a New Year's Six team next year. Thaddeus, don't you think that if they fire him now, they could play better and salvage the season? I do, Thaddeus, but what I think doesn't matter. It's what does Scott Woodward want to do? Let's see, dude won a natty 2 years ago, let him finish the season. Ultimate Warrior, it's really irrelevant if you're at a point where you're beyond and this goes back to the point, like, everything since that day against Clemson has been a disaster. All of it, on the field and off. Title IX, the racial injustice, his team marching without him last year because of stuff he didn't handle well internally. I mean, all the women and the pictures, then on the field, like, look at the bungling of the coaching hires. Like, why hang on to someone for something that happened 2 years ago that clearly he didn't even play a part in? He was just the cheerleader on the sideline clapping. Bill Belichick's on the way. Grant Sashery, could Woodward potentially hire Mark Stoops? Grant, a lot of people have asked that. Woodward is gonna make a splash. He's not gonna go get the guy from Kentucky who's been perennially 7-5. He's just not gonna get that guy. I think he's a good coach. It's not. Let's see, it's gonna be very empty Death Valley come Saturday against Florida. That's something Woodward has to look at going forward. I don't necessarily think that's the thing. I think he's got a much bigger picture scope. Like, if you do intend to fire for cause, can you do that after a game? You know what I mean? Like, singular. Maybe he's waiting for that one smoking gun type moment, potentially. Let's see. The Youngblood 46. Morning, Matt. Do you think Billy Napier gets an interview? I do not. Trivia, what's up, man? Brian Cusick, Forever LSU. Jesse Brown, hope the Saints play well so we can feel better. Amen. Jay Chief, I was recently reminded of stuff O said that makes you question his coaching. Remember at the start of last season when Ogeron said Bo Pelini's defense was better than any point in 2019? Yeah, remember it well. Talked about it often, and I get criticized for it. It's funny the things that in the time when I say I'm going to get criticized for, and then when people with the benefit of hindsight look back and go, oh yeah, you were right. I don't care if y'all like me, but I'm always going to be honest. You may not agree with me, that's fine, but I'm never going to BS you. You will never get sunshine pumping purple and gold glasses here. I will tell you, if I think they're good, I'm going to tell you they're good. If I think they're bad, I'm going to tell you. If I think they're going to win, I'm going to tell you. If I think they're going to lose, I'm going to tell you. How about the irony that O is so bad at hiring, he's left Woodward with no real interim options? Oh, man. That's one thing that you have to credit Les Miles. Les could identify coaching talent and bring them in. I mean, look at his DCs. From Pelini to the 1 year he did the Malvito thing and it bombed. Then he went to Chavis, who was, I get it, Chavis at the end of his career did not end well, but Chavis is the reason Les steadied the program in 9, 10, 11. Chavis to Kevin Steele to Dave Aranda. I mean, Les's problem, he hired Ed Ogeron, he hired Corey Raymond, he hired Steve Ensminger. Les hired a great staff. He just could not help himself but to get involved in the offense. If Les could have just left the offense alone, hell, he might still be the coach. Just couldn't do it. Let's see. Matt, is there any chance this happens this week? Brandon, I wouldn't rule it out, Brandon, because I'm going to tell you, Wednesday evening after the coaches show, Thursday morning of this week, I was of the belief that if they lost and it looked ugly, that it was going to happen. And then apparently with 48 hours to think on it a bit more, that changed. I mean, at this point, I would be surprised. I wouldn't rule anything out, but I would be surprised today if it happened today. Now go have another ugly performance against Florida, and maybe Woodward. You sit there and you go, hey, how much more of this can you take? Like realistically, you're just going to keep getting your head kicked in every week. Because I have news for you: as good of a running team as Kentucky is, Florida's better. Florida's a better running team than Kentucky. I mean, you just gave up 330 rushing to Kentucky. Florida's going to do the same thing to you. Clayton Krause. I keep hearing Lane Kiffin. I think he jumped ship to LSU. Others think there's no way he leaves Ole Miss. Your thoughts? Clayton, I will tell you with absolute certainty that Lane Kiffin, whose agent is Jimmy Sexton, by the way, who is like best friends with Scott Woodward, I will tell you with absolute certainty that Lane Kiffin wants the LSU job. The question is, would Scott Woodward make that hire considering some of Lane's personality? I don't know. But I will tell you with 100% certainty that Lane Kiffin wants the LSU job. Corral's going to cook us. Matt, is there any way as far as I kind of went through that? Richard Knight, how many players will next head coach have to recruit to come back next year? It'll be interesting, man, to see who that, you're going to lose guys early to the draft, obviously, in this junior class. I think the bigger thing is how many players does the new coach suggest they transfer and find a new place to play to open up a roster spot to get guys from another place to come in. Look at what Kim Mulkey just did. I mean, Kim Mulkey came in and brought half her team from Baylor. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Any way the Aggies can make the playoffs? Not with 2 losses, no. Is Freeze a viable option? No, Blaine, because of what I talked about with the off-the-field stuff. I think this would be a scandal-free hire, very clean hire. Personally, I would love Hugh Freeze. I think Hugh Freeze would win championships here. Let's see. George Reitmeyer, is it true what you said about DP last night? What did I say about Derek? That he vets coaches for Ogeron? He does, yeah. Derek goes and Ed says it. Got to give him credit to Derek Panamsky. Like Ed says it. Derek goes and vets coaches for Ed. Yes. Derek is the one who called Brady and said, "Who would you recommend for this job?" Said Jake Peets. Derek facilitated that. Yes, that's true. Colton Mack, the GOAT, whiskey and wine is so good. How hard would it, let's see, PTG Toasty, great options for the next coach. Franklin Fickle would be great. How hard to get Franklin from Penn State? Well, consider he's making 5-5 right now. You get a chance to come to the SEC, chance to win a national championship. Yeah, I think he'd come. Clayton Krause is Gamecoin. No, Gamecoin is GME is the ticker. GME. And to buy it, it's kind of complicated, Clayton, but if you want to buy it, there's a video on YouTube. If you go search how to buy Gamecoin, there's a video and it explains. Actually, the video is on the. If you go to the website thegamecoin.net, there's a how to buy if you're interested. MC Pro Twin, Matt hates him some O. I don't respect Ed Ogeron as coach, but to say I hate someone, I don't hate him. I just think he's a very bad head coach. Chris Hunter or Matt Campbell from Iowa State. Matt Campbell just signed an extension with Iowa State this offseason. I think that's a non-starter. Carl the Cat, we will hire Keegan-Michael Key and pretend he's James Franklin. Kenneth Martin. Matt, you're only as good as your assistant coaches. Therefore, out of the list of 4 possible head coaches, which one do you trust hiring the best assistant coaches? Yeah, good question, man. And I don't necessarily agree with that completely, because if you have a head coach that has a specialty on one side of the ball, like a Kiffin, who's your offensive coach, who's your play caller, and you trust that guy. The interesting thing is, of the 4 that I mentioned, Fickle's the only one that's sort of a defensive guy, which would be interesting to bring in a defensive guy who could make you competent on that side of the ball and hand the reins over to an offensive coach, which you've seen very successfully at Cincinnati, albeit Cincinnati, but let's see. Michael Mills, I hate soccer. Clayton Krause, I love Ali Gay. Plays with so much heart. I agree. Scott Fields, the binder is just like a recipe, apparently. If people know the ingredients, you have a great meal. If you don't know what's on the recipe binder, you screw up the gumbo with tomatoes. Chris Hunter, Kentucky made our defensive tackles look pathetic. Scott Fields, Adrian Bailey, Coach O said in his post-game press conference he didn't know Kentucky could run the ball like that. So obviously I did not hear Coach O's press conference, because as soon as the game ends, we do whiskey and wine. So I did not hear what he had to say. Many people have mentioned that, and that's stunning, considering Chris Rodriguez was leading the SEC in rushing offense. Vincenzo Clemente, Matt, writing from Italy. The Tigers stunk it up so bad, we could smell it all the way over here. Well, Vincenzo, I'm just very envious, because Italia would be my dream vacation. Actually, Erica and I were planning an Italy trip in the summer of 2013, which got canceled because LSU baseball made the College World Series. And then that November, we found out we were pregnant with Drew. And then our lives changed. So still not made it to Italy, but that's my dream vacation. Where was Sage Ryan? Coach O said he was surprised. Oh, yeah, a lot of people saying that. Let's see. Donovan Thibodeau. Tim Benson. Last night was 1992 all over again. Oof. was supposed to be Marcel Brooks and Dante Starks, both bugged out after 2019. And, well, Dante Starks was a different situation because he had off-the-field stuff. Marcel Brooks was a man without a position. When Ogeron switched to a 4-3, Brooks wasn't big enough to be an inside backer, and he wasn't big enough to be a hand in the dirt defensive end. So I think he actually switched to offense at TCU. Check me on that, but I think someone told me that. Matt, did the players quit on O last night? Yes. So the LSU standard performance, what are those now? Future Alabama defensive analyst Ed Ogeron. Saban would be smart to hire him when he gets fired. Let's see, we won the Natty, but how the hell did LSU think paying $8 million per year was accurate? Clayton, if I'm not mistaken, I would have to go back and check because it's been 2 years now, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he had an escalator in his contract where if you won the Natty, he automatically got a new deal. A lot of contracts are written that way that are incentive-based, where if you win a national championship. Remember Les had that clause? Les had that clause in his contract where if he won the Natty, he had to be paid $1 more than the highest paid coach in America, which happened to be Saban at the time. So a lot of people looked at that and thought that was super petty, but it wasn't. It was just how his contract was written. I think Ed had something like that in his contract as well. Still 371 watching on YouTube. Appreciate y'all. 201 on the likes. Please smash that like button if you would. If you're watching on mobile, hit the thumbs up. If you see the live chat, just X out of the live chat. You'll see the little thumbs up icon. Hit the thumbs up. Go right back to the live chat. We appreciate it. And Facebook, 268 watching on Facebook. That's awesome. Thank y'all so much. Please like the page, share the post. Told you I'll hang out for as long as y'all want to. As long as I can anyway, because today we're celebrating my gramps' 89th birthday, which was on Thursday. So I'm going to go over, have lunch, and celebrate Gramps and watch the Saints and all that stuff. Tony Williams, but he's one of us. Jeremy Wiley, watch the AP poll, won't drop Bama and a 3-point loss. Well, they'll drop out of the top spot, Jeremy, but they'll probably go to 3. You'll probably go Georgia, Iowa, Bama, I would guess. Craig Duga, Jason Souls, Ashari, what's up? No more CEO, we need a coach. Jeremy, with Bama losing, does that give Corral another shot at the Heisman? Yeah, Jeremy. I mean, if Ole Miss wins out and he throws for 4,500 yards and 50 touchdowns, yeah, sure. Ashari, what's up, man? Charlie Cavell, refresh my memory. Why did Ray Thornton go to Texas? Ray was another guy without a position who could never crack the rotation. And oddly enough, like Andre Anthony, who unfortunately was injured this year, but had he stuck it out when they switched to 4-3, he would have fit that defense much better as a hand in the dirt 4-3 end. Jeremy Wiley, Oklahoma's still overrated. That's a great point. Oklahoma may move up to 3. So you may go, I haven't seen the polls out, but you probably go Georgia, Iowa, Oklahoma, Bama, Cincinnati. Or maybe Cincinnati 4, Bama 5 is how they do it. Patrick Cason, Matt, who are the real LSU draft prospects? For this year's draft, obviously Stingley. Damone Clark's going to get drafted. And I think he's played himself into maybe a day 2 pick. He could be a 3rd-round pick. Kind of like Jabril Cox. Stingley, Damone, I'm kind of working my way up. Stingley, Damone, Ali Gay. I don't know if Farrell or Logan or Anthony. Anthony might have gotten drafted before the ACL, but the other ones I don't think they get picked. Ed Ingram, I would have told you would have been a day 2 pick with a shot to be a 1st rounder. He just not played well this year. But Ed probably gets picked. Unless there's someone else, that's probably it for this year. Let's see, Jason, what's your opinion on PJ Fleck? I think PJ Fleck's a good coach. Oddly, he just seems really committed to Minnesota, which is a weird spot to be, but he seems like he's just committed there. So, Paul Batts, does Scott call his buddy Jimbo? I think we'll remember those conversations are had with agents. And I've told you, Scott Woodward and Jimmy Sexton are like best friends. And Sexton is Jimbo's agent and Kiffin's agent. And I mean, he's most college coach, most are. So, like, the what would it take to get that deal done conversation would absolutely be had between Scott and Sexton. How far does it get? I have no idea, but you have that conversation. Trail Hatch, man, if we could have landed Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was considered in Oklahoma. I mean, it was considered in LSU when he committed to Oklahoma. Let's see. Sorry I'm late. Did O's job make it through the night, or did he get tarmacked? Made it through the night. Mr. Norm. Matt, does Woodward have the stones to cut bait midseason? It's not about stones to do it. Scott, I've explained this a million times before. He is a... Ooh. Wow. Man, I'm so far behind these comments. Wow. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry, I lost my spot in these comments, y'all. I'm sorry. I lost my spot on the comments, y'all, on YouTube. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll just start at the bottom and work my way up. I'm sorry. I can't wait. Trivia. I can't wait for SEC shorts this week. Sexton give Woodward the best friend deal. Are you confident Woodward would get one of his top three? I mean, yes. I mean, I would tell you the four names that I've heard were Kiffin, Bill O'Brien, Franklin, Fickle. Like, if you gave me those four or the field, I would take those four.
How long was it going?
1 hour and 13 minutes.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, we've done way longer shows than that. I got 372 watching on YouTube and 258 on Facebook. Huh? No, I'm wrong. Let's see. Keaton Berry and Jimbo got his big win. Still lose to Auburn and LSU. It'll be interesting. I was most surprised by Zach Calzada last night. I mean, I've watched that kid play, and he's not very good, but he was last night, so good for him. Mr. Norm, shout out from the Philippines. What's up? Games and Guns. That's for Woodward. Colton Mack. We have title line implications. Let's hire Urban Meyer. Yeah, right. Noel Ray is rookie mistake. Matt, LOL. Appreciate it. What did I do? Oh, on the comments. Yeah, sorry. I think I hit the arrow down button when I was scrolling. Morgan Young, Matt, I'm surprised you're up early after last night. You and T-Bob were teeing off. Maybe that's a testament to those GoFlow IVs. Morgan, I feel great, by the way. But yeah, I got home and went to bed around, 1:30 and got up at 8. So I'm all right. I mean, with Drew, we never really sleep late anyway. But let's see. Must say Pete's won't be an OC for a while. He has a lot more learning to do. Yeah. Everybody giving Gramps a shout out. 89, man. Old Sazeracs for all old fashions. And Gramps is not Grandpa Scone. Gramps is my mom's dad. So it's Bill Mumford. Gramps, if y'all are watching Whiskey and Wine after Mississippi State, Gramps and my dad came and they sat at the bar behind us, and my grandfather was basically holding court, smoking a fat cigar and drinking an old fashioned. I think they actually I think he's having a beer. Justin Turner, we ever going to see Mike Jones on the field? He played last night. He's just not playing well. That's the whole thing, right? Like, there is some degree of self-awareness there for Mike Jones. he was a projected potential first-round pick as an overhang linebacker from Clemson. The guy played that. Sorry. The Isaiah Simmons role at Clemson, that sort of safety hybrid linebacker role. But Mike Jones wanted to be an inside backer. And so he left Clemson to come to LSU because they were giving him a chance to be a Mike. And he's just not. That's just not what he is. Where are we? Let's see. This man just said we want a coach that gave up 51 to Arkansas. Joe McKiffin? I think Shaq hates Matt. I think DJ Durkin is a good coach defensively, who's the Ole Miss defensive coordinator. I think personnel-wise, they're not great. And they scored 52. But if you're ever going to judge if you're ever going to judge a coach by one game sample, then like the contrast to that argument is, well, Saban gave up 41 to Zach Calzada, who couldn't score a touchdown against Colorado. You want that guy? That's the danger of doing a one game sample type thing. Let's see. Edward O. Hate to say it, I think the Saints lose today as well. I disagree with you. The Saints are actually a road favorite, and I think they win and cover. I think the Saints will, and I do think Sean Payton opens it up offensively today. Washington's defense has not been good, surprisingly. And I think also familiarity with Ron Rivera from so many years in Carolina, I think that helps in this game plan. I do. I think the Saints win. I think the Saints win on the road today. Corey Davis. Ooh, look at that. If you had 35 to 40 to spend on a bourbon, which one? Corey Davis said Eagle Rare. Well, I would agree with you that that's a great pick, Corey. The problem is finding Eagle Rare is difficult. But if you can find it, yeah, that's great. Evan Deschatel, Mark Cascio, less at areas of growth, most notably clock management. Scott Flowers, where's Tom Herman these days? Funny how that was considered the best option last time. Tom Herman is an assistant with the Chicago Bears right now. And I still think he'd be an awesome coach. Really good offensive coach. Was better at Texas than he gets credit for. They won a Sugar Bowl in year 2. Time struggled to win the big game, but Texas with their boosters are impatient. Let's see. Rio Aranda, he's been terrible at Baylor. Richie, that's not true. They struggled last year. He inherited a bad situation then in a COVID year. But Baylor rolled yesterday over West Virginia. They're 5-1. They lost. Their first loss was last week against undefeated Oklahoma State on the road. But they're like Baylor's 5-1. Let's see. They beat Texas State, Texas Southern. They won at Kansas. They beat Iowa State. Lost to Oklahoma State, and then pummeled West Virginia yesterday, 45-20. Like, they're playing well, and now they got BYU coming up this week at home. They play BYU, Texas, still got a game against Oklahoma. You'll learn all you need to know about Baylor, but they're interesting. Let's see. We might be coming down the home stretch, y'all. Tim Grasaffi, morning. If Ed was surprised by leading rusher in the SEC, what's going to surprise him next week? Paul Batts still processing the fact that LSU got manhandled by Kentucky. 330 yards rushing. Trell, when I saw that 1,000 last night on your Facebook Live, I knew the mob and myself was ready for you to change our lives and say Edo is going to be fired by morning. Trell, you should have seen YouTube had 3,000 watching live. Facebook was over that way. It was probably be the biggest whiskey and wine we ever had. Trey Wilson, Scott Woodward's not firing midseason. Trey, so that's his track record, is to let coaches finish out the season. And that was certainly the position early last week. By midweek, that changed, and at this point, I would be surprised if Ed Ogeron finishes the season. Jeremy Thibodeau, thank Kentucky. Got a chance against UGA next week. No, especially if JT Daniels plays. Let's see. So Gramps wasn't making out with the girl at the bar. No, Grammy is also still living. So Grammy and Gramps have been married for, I don't know, 60. God, they're almost married for next year will be their 70th wedding anniversary. How about that? Wow. Does the NFL hate Europe? I mean, Falcons, Jets. Oh, is that on right now? God dog it. It's 20-3. 23 at half. God dog it. I forgot about that. I got up and just did this. Forgot to turn on the TV. Jacob Falcon. I was watching Ole Miss Arkansas as well. Thought if they had LSU talent on defense, it'd be different. Chris Landry. Matt, where does the Pete's era rank in the worst offensive coordinators in LSU history? So Chris, if you go prior to if you go pre-Curly, I don't have any awareness of it, so I couldn't say. See, the coordinators for Denard were Carl Reese and Morris Watts, right? Then Nick brought in Jimbo, and then we went from Jimbo to Croton to what was going to be Cragthorpe, and then Cragthorpe got sick, and so then it was Stud. And then from Stud to Cameron to Ensminger to Canada to Ensminger to Pete's. There's been some doozies in there, man. Whew. Let's see. Glenn Clark, Brennan Samaha, is Onyemata back? No, he has to sit 6 games. So he'll come back after the Seattle game. Caleb Bernard, Peyton's got to open it up today. It's time, I agree. Tony Williams, Danny Braywick, 5 game suspension. No, not 5, Danny, not 5, 6 game suspension. So he's out 6 games. So he can come back after Seattle. Kevin Forshag, Fickle, Franklin, Cristobal, Campbell, Napier, Aranda, plus there are several more. Kevin, you can throw out whatever list you want. I'm just telling you, Scott Wilbur don't care about your list. He don't care about what names you throw out. And Campbell, Napier, and Aranda are not on the list. And I have not heard anybody that I trust mention Cristobal. Although I don't think that's a terrible idea. Brooks Moran, thoughts on this statement? The only reason the run game was successful is because we were losing by more than 2 touchdowns. Kentucky was soft against the run to prevent big plays in the pass game. Brooks, not only that, but that's just how Kentucky plays defense. Kentucky had only allowed 5 plays all year of 20 yards or more. They will give you underneath stuff, and they'll give you small clips in the run game to prevent the big play. So, yeah, I mean, that's a big reason why LSU. I mean, they had numbers. The more confusing thing is why Brooks last week, when Auburn was rushing 3 and 2, dropping 9, LSU continued throwing the ball. The unfortunate thing is last night, you took advantage of some base looks, and got the run game going, but you were just losing by so much it didn't matter. You needed to be throwing. What do you think's the next, Sean Champagne, what do you think the next step is for LSU football? It looks like they'll retain Ogeron. I think they'll lose to Florida. And then lose at Ole Miss. and then maybe they fire him in the open date. I just don't know how much more they can do this. Caleb Bernard, any chance to snatch Kingsbury? No. No. I think Cliff Kingsbury having a division leading team in the NFL is it's gonna be I think he's good where he is. Whereas Woodward taking Ogeron fishing this morning. Let's see, Jared O'Pry. How does any coach fix the O-line? Honestly, Jared, it's not that difficult. And here's why. You've got Will Campbell committed. He's a 5-star. He's probably a day one starter at one of your tackle spots. I think next year, they really like Garrett Dellinger. He could be a starter either at right tackle or one of your guard spots. Anthony Bradford has played a bunch. I think he's a better guard than tackle, but he can be a starter. That's 3 of your 5 next year. Charles Turner could step in at center. You would hope by year 4 he's ready. If not, you need 2 more starting spots that either one of your current players step up into that role or you go into the transfer portal. So, and especially in this year where they allowed the oversigning of transfers, I think it's very doable. Ooh, what do you think Tiger Stadium's going to look like at 11 a.m.? 70,000? 30,000 empties is going to look gross. Christopher Smith, shout out from Rowlett, Texas. Justin Hutchinson, DiNardo's last OC was McConnell. Josh Booty's OC, he was awful. God. Oh, God. When the kids, oops. Christopher Smith, love the Hudco hat. Thank you. HudcoRoofing.com, by the way. Need a roof? Call Hudco. And shout out to Brock, y'all. BROrtho.com. Brock Rock and Wine is on the open date. So if you're looking for something to do at the Renaissance Hotel, Saturday, October the 30th, raising money for the Brock Foundation, BROrtho.com for tickets, BROrtho.com. And of course, HudcoRoofing.com. Continuing to help people every single day post Ida. If you need a roof, give us a shout, HudcoRoofing.com. Holly Najjar in Anna, Texas. Thanks for watching. Let's see. All right. What happened to Kendall, Big Chip, Kendall, Cardell Thomas? It's just a recruiting miss, man. He's a top heavy kid with a weak lower half who at 350 was throwing around a lot of 1A defensive linemen and looked good on film, but just a misevaluation. Not an SEC caliber offensive lineman. Let's see. Ensminger's not on staff, therefore cannot be an interim coach. Ensminger is a consultant. He's not even technically an analyst. He's basically paid a consultant salary. And they could theoretically hire him as interim head coach if they wanted to. Remember a few years ago when Barry Alvarez stepped out of the AD role to coach Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. I think that was when Bielema left for Arkansas. But anyway, so they could hire him, but there's no chance Steve is doing that. Mac Daddy Donk. Well, regardless how we fix it, I hope we don't have Coach O or his 2 coordinators next year. Mac Daddy Donk, I can assure you that will not happen. Like, Ed Ogeron is going to be fired. What happened to Eric Gilbert? He's not playing. Finley and Rosenthal say what's up. How about that? Rollo McDonough. Jared Guillory. Saints defense is elite with top quarterbacks. It's when they play trash quarterbacks that's the problem. What about Notre Dame's hit Dave Parker? Brian Kelly, I don't necessarily know if they're going to go that route. I just haven't heard that mentioned by anybody. John Ducey, how many more wins does LSU have, Matt? John, I'll say 2. I think they'll beat ULM, and I think they'll get one more SEC game. I think they'll go 5-7. Someone so who was that? Colton Mack said Ensminger retired last year. Please pay attention. Colton, I'm telling you, listen, okay? Steve Ensminger retired from being an on-field coach. They retained him as a consultant. He's not an analyst in the sense that the analysts are there in a daily role. Steve is still receiving a consultant salary and had not been involved until they lost to UCLA. Now he comes into the building to watch film and consult with Jake Peetz. It's my understanding that has not been very well received by Jake Peetz, and he's not really taking to direction. So Steve Ensminger is still being paid by LSU as a consultant. And to Roger Kitchens, who said, beg him to serve as interim, there is no chance, none, that Steve Ensminger serves as interim head coach. None. 0. Let's see. Dave Vinder started watching Whiskey and Wine, but shut it down. Rant was way out of line. Expected more than F-bomb yelling. You can do better. Dave, then you should just not watch Whiskey and Wine, because that's kind of what the show is. This show is designed to be 2 guys at a bar smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, and talking like 2 guys at a cigar, smoking cigars and drinking whiskey. So it's not for everybody, and I get that. So respect. If you don't want to watch it, that's totally fine. But you are in a minority, man. But that's okay. Do you? Let's see. Colton Mack, Joshua Doyle, B. Weinman. No thanks on Kelly. He's got baggage. I guess most coaches do, but he does for sure. Wolf, if you had to guess, I don't really guess, Wolf. I mean, you could ask my opinion who I'd want. I think James Franklin would be great. And I know he's on the list. Mr. Norm, Gilbert and Musso hanging out on that Sheba train. So that's not exactly true, Mr. Norm. And it does bother me that fans think they know what happened with Eric Gilbert when they really don't. And that's a product of social media and message board culture where people have sources spread half-truths, accept them as fact when they really don't know what the hell they're talking about. And that upsets me. Captain Insano. Let's see. Rob, since you've been a Catholic Bear, can you give your thoughts on the passing of Kevin Franklin? Yeah, Rob talked about that one a few weeks back, man. It's terrible. For those who don't know, Kevin was a great running back at Catholic, and went to LSU, and I think finished maybe at Southern. Finished his career at Southern. And he was the color analyst on the radio broadcast. He was the running back with work done when they were in school together, and he contracted COVID and died. The day before, maybe the Thursday before the UCLA game. But I think Kevin was 47. Great dude, great energy, always positive, upbeat. It just got married like a year ago, man. It's awful. Awful. The rant was great last night. By the way, you actually pronounced my name correctly. Well done. Weinman? You got it, man. Some people say like Weinman, maybe. I guess. Let's see. Fit Adventure, great whiskey and wine last night. Let's see. Wolf, awesome YouTube channel. #1 for LSU. Thank you, man. Appreciate you for watching. Settled with O. He won a title. He's the reason Burrow and Brady came here. That wasn't happening without him. He's been bad, but the title has much to do with him as anybody. Factually inaccurate, Captain Insano. Brady gets way too much credit, and Burrows here came actually because Bill Bush was an assistant with Jimmy Burrow on staff at Nebraska. That was the open door to get Burrow here. And Bill Bush was hired by Dave Aranda because Dave was going to take the A&M job. And when the 10th assistant was allowed, part of Dave's condition to stay at LSU instead of going to A&M was he got to handpick the 10th assistant, and he picked Bill Bush. So that's how actually Burrow ended up here. So no, Ogeron doesn't really get credit. Matt, can I get a pass on liking soccer since it might pay for some of my son's college? Absolutely, Michael. Do you? Just don't say England are winning. Oh my God. Drives me crazy. Can you imagine the day that I hear Al Michaels on Sunday Night Football say, New Orleans are beating the Rams? No. Plural. That's singular. New Orleans is winning. Oh yeah, I think we're about done. Chris Lee, Y. James Franklin, 89-44. That's easy to say, Chris, but he also coached at Vanderbilt. Like, he won 9 games at Vanderbilt. He went to Penn State, has made them a winner. The whole thing is, can you give a good coach resources to take the next step and win? Otherwise, go hire a coach that's already a championship winning coach, but that pool is very small. It's Nick Saban, not getting him. It's Dabo, you're not getting him. It's Jimbo. Do you want him? A lot of you don't. So, Urban Meyer, scandal laden, so that's not going to happen. So, who? Where's the? Gene Chizik won a natty. You want Gene Chizik? Larry Coker won a natty. He's available. You want him? You know what I mean? So, look at Jay Johnson. Jay hadn't won a natty, but he had been to Omaha a couple of times. Had him in a championship series, actually. Young guy, you're sort of betting on the come there, saying, all right, we took this guy that got Arizona to Omaha. Like, we could put him here with these resources, and he'll moon. Same thing. Austin Kidder, my testosterone drops by 50 when I say the word soccer. That's so good. New Orleans are beating Washington today. Exactly. It's so stupid. Like, I don't need, and by the way, I don't need to change. Like, if you're an international broadcaster, you're in Britain and you've said that your whole life because that's what's accepted, fine. I'm not trying to make you and your whole culture change. But why are Americans starting to say that? They're like, Tottenham are winning. No. Like, if you say that, then why are you not in turn saying Kentucky are running all over LSU? No. Kentucky is running all over LSU. Champy Johnson, what about hiring Chris Peterson? I think, my understanding, I wouldn't be opposed to that. My understanding is Chris Peterson is quite content to be retired. Chewy, I have faith in Woodward. Me too. Jean-Pierre. Art Brawls? Oh, Briles. Well, Briles, there's no way they're hiring Art Briles. You want to talk about scandal laden? There's no way. All right, I think we're just about done, y'all. Craig Dugas. Stayed up to 2 a.m. listening to postgame on Eagle. It was the family-friendly whiskey and wine. Condon is entertaining. All their opinions echoed you and T-Bob. All right, y'all. I think we're done. Hour and 40 minutes. This has been fun. Thanks for watching. 351 watching on YouTube still. That's awesome. Do me a favor, please. If you're up 263 likes, that's awesome. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the Matt Moscone YouTube channel. If you haven't done that yet, much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. Appreciate you greatly for being here. And Facebook. Like the page, share the post. Like the page, share the post. Shout out to Brock. Banner's Orthopedic Clinic, Brock Rock and Wine coming up on Saturday, October the 30th. Get your tickets at brortho.com and, of course, Hudco Roofing. I could do the jingle. When you need a roof, call someone you know. Scone and Terry up. All you need is honeycomb. See if I can find it. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Hang on. This will be fun. Let's do this. Oh, here, let's do this. Courtesy of Mr. Toby Tomplay. Let's do this.
When you need a roof, call someone you know. Scone, Ontario.
All you need is honeycomb.
Call Honeycomb Roofing.
364.
1007.
That's so good. That's going to be stuck in your heads all day. That's so good. Oh, look, Christopher Smith. Jeff Hudson's my brother-in-law. We had dinner with Jeff a couple weeks ago in town, man. That's awesome. Tell him I said what's up, man. All right, y'all. Noel Reyes, longtime supporter. Just subscribe. Thank you for all your honesty. Keep up the good work. NYC Tiger fan. Thank you, Noel. Appreciate that, man, very much. All right, y'all. Trivia, shut up. It's the point. It's the point of a jingle. It's an earworm. All right. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you. Who dat?